So in case you don't know this about me, Guardians of the Galaxy is one of my favorite superhero movies, and maybe just one of my favorite movies of all time. It's really funny, it's action-packed, it's actually got a few surprisingly emotional moments. I love that movie. So of course, I was beyond excited for the sequel. So now that it's landed, at least where I live, I'm sorry to my viewers in America, let's get into it. Also, as I always do, first part of this review will be spoiler-free, and then after a very obvious warning, I'll get into the spoilers. So, to be completely honest, I was actually a little nervous going into this, because early buzz around this film wasn't exactly what I was expecting. It was mostly positive, Rotten Tomatoes score is pretty great, Mr. Sunday said it was a good fun time, but then I looked briefly at some other reviews, and they gave it a really middling review.
I'm going Iron Man 2, I'm going Thor the Dark World, and then I'm going Guardians 2.
So I was cautiously optimistic going into this, but still much more optimistic than cautious. And was I really disappointed or really satisfied coming out? Well, I don't think I could say I was disappointed, but I don't think it was truly incredible either. There was some stuff in this film that I genuinely loved, like a lot, and there was some stuff that I wasn't a fan of. Firstly, the cast here is, as you would expect, great. Chris Pratt, I think, is even better in this film than he was in the last one. He's still, of course, very funny, but he also manages to carry some pretty emotional scenes. Zoe Saldana was great as Gamora again, and this time we do get a little more fleshing out of her character, as well as Peter Quill's, which I liked. In the first movie, these things about these characters were kind of hinted at, but in this one, we really explored those more. Dave Bautista, I really loved his Drax. He's really funny, almost all of his jokes landed for me. He's just a great part of this film. I don't know if I'd say he stole the show, but he was hilarious. Really liked him. Then there's Vin Diesel as Baby Groot. I was kind of worried going into this that Baby Groot was going to get annoying as this film went along. Like watching the trailers for this, I was like, yeah, he's cute, but I can definitely see that whole thing getting grating after 2 hours. But surprisingly, I didn't really find that. I didn't think he was as adorable as apparently everyone around me in the cinema did, but he was still funny and a good addition to the film. Bradley Cooper's Rocket, there isn't much to say. He's just awesome as the character like he was last time. Michael Rooker is really great as Yondu, and they expand on his character more as well in this film, which I really liked. The ways in which they explore these backstories and whatnot for these characters, I wasn't a huge fan of, but we'll get more into that later. Karen Gillan was good as Nebula, Palm Clementif was good as Mantis, Elizabeth Debicki was good as AYESHA, and Kurt Russell was great as Ego the Living Planet. I'll talk more about him in spoilers, because they showed basically none of him in the trailers. That's another thing I want to commend real quick. This is how you should market a film. The trailers didn't really give anything major away. There are quite a few twists and turns in this film, surprisingly enough. Now, the action here is still great. It's just as good as the first film. There's one action scene in particular with Yondu that I absolutely loved. Also, the visual effects, I think, are almost flawless. Like, even in films with huge budgets, I'll find myself saying at some point, that just looks like they're standing on a green screen. But here, I never found myself saying that. This movie shows off some absolutely ridiculous and beautiful visuals, and they all felt like they were actually there, which really impressed me. Even shots from the trailer that I thought looked a little green screeny worked in the actual film. Also, speaking of which, this movie, especially the second half, is an insane light show. This is probably the craziest MCU movie yet. Yes, we've had Doctor Strange, but I'm willing to say, especially the second half, this movie is weirder. It's just comic book insanity. There's really no other way to put it. And it takes quite a lot of risks in that area, and I actually thought it worked. Also, this might seem like a weird thing to comment on, but I think this is probably the most colorful MCU movie. It's just recently, these movies have gone from this crazy Technicolor to kind of mostly grayer, duller colors. So it was nice to see a return to kind of crazy, over-the-top rainbow color schemes. Now, something I was really excited for going into this was the soundtrack. And yeah, it's pretty much what I was expecting. I've listened to Awesome Mix Volume 1 consistently since the release of the first Guardians. Like, I still listen to it to this day, so I'm sure I'll listen to this countless times, and it'll grow on me more. I will say I was a little disappointed that 2 songs didn't make it that were heavily used in the marketing, those being Fox on the Run and Suffragette City, 2 of my favorite songs. But besides that, this is another great Guardians soundtrack. Something else this movie is the most of in the MCU is the most jokey movie. This, I think, is by far the most comedic Marvel movie, which is weird since all these movies have a ton of jokes. But this is pretty much a straight-ahead action comedy for most of it. And when those jokes landed, they really landed. I laughed out loud a lot. But there were also a few misses in there that really fell flat for me. I'd say joke-wise, it was like 85% hilarious, 15% bit of a dud. And really, my main problem with this film lies when it tries to be more serious. This movie is crazy colors and joke after joke after joke, and then about 10 times throughout, it'll halt for a serious, trying to be genuine scene. And I'm thinking, I just saw this like 2 seconds ago, and now you want to talk about how much you miss your family. Don't get me wrong, the emotional moments aren't bad. Some in particular I thought hit pretty well. But one, it seemed a little choppy, like it didn't really flow. Like again, it would go from this crazy action, and then it would go into this very serious monologue kind of thing. And two, they kept doing the same thing over and over again. Okay, remember that part in Civil War where Black Panther's talking emotionally and mysteriously into the middle distance about some Black Panther tradition or something?
The Black Panther has been the protector of Wakanda for generations. A mantle passed from warrior to warrior. And now because your friend murdered my father, I also wear the mantle of king.
Okay, think that, now multiply it by about 6. Because almost every character in this film gets an emotional monologue about their past while staring off into the distance. And it started to get kinda old. Couldn't you find some other way of showing their past or conveying some feeling these characters are having? Now, they actually do that sometimes, where they show it in a different-ish way. Which shows to me that they know how to do it, which kinda made all the other times where it's just slow pulling on someone's face as they talk quietly about their horrible past into the distance, that much more repetitive and kind of lazy feeling. Again, some of the less kind of cliched moments worked really well, in particular involving one where Peter has a revelation of some sort. That really hit me. But also, even with the parts that worked towards the end, nothing hit me in this movie emotionally like it did in the first film, with that ending with the new Awesome Mix or the We Are Groot moment. So before I get into the spoilers, I'll just wrap this part of the review up. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is a super fun time at the cinema. It's another really good Marvel film, but in my opinion, it isn't their best work. The action is amazing, the story and twists are actually pretty great, the humor is really hilarious when it lands, but it doesn't always land, and the more serious moments didn't all work for me. I would say this is a really good sequel. I mean, to live up to a film that was not only incredible, but surprised everyone, that's a tough job. And this is a great follow-up. I can't say it's better though. I'll give Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 an 8.8 out of 10. Alright, now let's get into the spoilers. If you don't want anything spoiled, click away from this video now. Okay, first off, the cameos. I knew Stallone was going to be in this, and I liked seeing him here. Maybe that's just because I watched Creed again for like the 9th time yesterday, and Stallone is fresh in my mind. I guess we'll be seeing him pop up in Guardians 3 along with the other Ravager captains. Great. Also, I'm pretty sure I saw Ving Rhames in there, which was pretty surprising, but a pleasant surprise. Howard the Duck makes another appearance. Great. The David Hasselhoff cameo made me laugh really hard. I also noticed Jeff Goldblum popped up halfway through the credits. Always enjoy seeing a little Goldblum. And the Stanley cameo was amazing. Might actually be my favorite to date. It pokes fun at the theory that he's the Watcher, as we see him actually talking to the Watchers about his different cameos, the one mentioned being when he played Willie Lumpkin, the Fantastic Four's mailman. I loved it. It did get kinda old by the time it showed up in the end credits, but I still got a really good kick out of that. And as far as the end credit scenes go, there's not much to note. They're mostly continued jokes from the actual movie, which were admittedly pretty funny, but there was one future movie tease with AYESHA creating Adam Warlock. I don't know a ton about Adam Warlock. From what I've heard, he's an important player in the Infinity War story, but I think in the movie case, they'll be saving him for Guardians 3. On that note, this movie is totally isolated from the MCU. There are really no connections at all. Even when the movie goes to Earth briefly, nothing connects to the Avengers. Which, on one hand, I liked that it didn't have to get bogged down in setups and continuity and references and all that. But on the other hand, seeing just a little something would have been nice. Since these movies are built on that they're all connected, just seeing a little character pop up or just one reference could have been cool. But oh well. The twist where it turned out Ego was the actual villain of the film did surprise me, although once I actually got into the cinema and the movie progressed, it did become more and more predictable. That final battle, by the way, when I said this movie is the most insane MCU movie yet, that's what I meant. Suddenly Star-Lord has rock powers and he turns himself into a giant Pac-Man. It's ridiculous, but it made me laugh. And it does also make sense for the character. Also, like I mentioned, I think my favorite action scene in the film, maybe, was Yondu going through the ship while Come a Little Bit Closer played. Just an extremely badass and awesome action scene. And finally, Yondu dying. At first, I wasn't really enjoying that whole Ravager subplot, but as the movie continued, it kept getting better and better, and this dynamic between Yondu and everyone else got better and better as well. And so when he died, it was actually pretty emotional. I didn't cry, this wasn't Logan or anything, but it felt like an earned send-off. And that whole Ravager funeral was a good way to end the film. So those were my thoughts on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. What did you think of this? Let me know all of your thoughts down below in the comments. While you're at it, be sure to like this video, check out my Instagram and Twitter at BHL_Hudson, and subscribe for more videos like the one you just watched. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.